You know about error disclosure? In Pennsylvania, state law, Joint Commission requires it too now, right?
What disclosure, I'm sorry?
If you make a medical error, you disclose it to the patient or the family. Do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing? And why? Sorry?
My religion, you're out there states that it's a good thing because they feel you're being upfront and honest with them. You're not trying to hide anything, and they're less likely to sue.
That's my understanding too. But what? They've studied who gets sued. Do you know who gets sued?
People who they don't like.
Right. Doctors with a bad bedside manner get sued much more than people who are nice.
It's not a big surprise.
Yep. The hospital I ran was a religious hospital, and the nuns came around to the patients 3 times a day and never got sued. Never.
I know this is an amazing thing.
And our quality was not good.
I read that even the providers who admit their mistake and apologize to the families,
Absolutely.
they don't get sued, even though they.
Absolutely.
I thought Ohio had something on the books that if you did admit to it, whether they wanted to or not, it would be thrown out of court. I could have sworn there was something on the books like that for Ohio.
Several states have an unintentional error
Yeah.
on the books where if they can prove that the error was not malicious or negligent, but if it was an unintentional error, that you can't be held criminally responsible.
Or civilly, probably.
I'm not sure about the civil, but I know criminally they're.
I have a question. I had, this just happened in our practice actually. I wrote, a lot of times I'll write a medication order and then they'll call it in, a nurse. And so I wrote an order for Zantac for this infant, and then the nurse called it in. And 2 weeks later, when I had the patient come back, the mom said, I'm running out of Zantac. What? And so what happened, that's how I found out the order, is that now the pharmacist said it was the nurse, and the nurse said she said the right thing. And so if it's verbal and it's not being, you know, how, because.
She's
Yes.
under you though.
Yes.
She's under you.
Yes.
Do you have it in writing what you ordered? Yeah.
It's in the, you have
Yeah.
the patient record, right?
Yeah, I have the patient
charted
record, and I charted it correctly. Because that was the
Does the
first
nurse
thing I
chart
had
her,
that
does the
information.
nurse chart her oral calls to the pharmacist?
What she did, she would say, underneath my order, she said, called into pharmacy
Okay.
and signed.
Okay.
But, so the pharmacist is saying that she didn't say that she had the decimal. What she verbalized to the pharmacist was wrong, which would have been a lot more.
Tell him to prove it.
And the pharmacist did, well, it went, I mean, the mom of the baby was okay, but the way she said it, it did make it sound like the pharmacist made it sound like it was our fault.
Did you tell her flat out that did you tell her it wasn't?
What did I say? I said that I double checked my note and what was ordered was correct.
Perfect. Perfect. You charted it, which
Yes.
is the most important thing, right?
Should the pharmacist have done that? She
That's
charted,
right.
well, that was the other thing, this pharmacist is one of the one pharmacist who is picky about everything. Like, you can't say this Miralax, which is a constipation powder, I mean, you can't say one capsule has to be 17 grams. You know, so she is very, very picky, and that's why I thought it was so odd that why she wouldn't have realized that Zantac was, 10 times the dose, and that would have been a very, very high dose. And she even called back and wanted to know the kilograms of the child, of the infant, which that in itself would have been, I mean, that
You know, there's something real important here. Errors happen. Errors happen. They happen. You can't eliminate them all. You want to try to minimize them.
Well, what did come from that was that if the pharmacist calls back to question an order, or to question even the weight or anything that they're unsure about, that it goes directly to the provider, that the nurse doesn't take care of it.
I'm going to think about your issue. Because there's something there that makes me nervous as a general issue about the world.
Yeah.
Because from my experience, redundancy is real important. So in other words, to have somebody act on one communication that's oral probably raises the incidence of errors, as opposed to if you had some kind of double check on the system. In other words, so pharmacist has the order that he's taken orally. If there was some mechanism where he kept track, during the day or something, sent the list back and you check it against your records, I don't know, but it's the double check piece.
Oh, yeah, because there's no, even
not
when you
there.
leave it on there
Right.
really isn't a check piece.
There's no double check there. That's
Even-
dangerous.
Even when you leave it on there, because most pharmacists, you don't even talk to them anymore, you just leave it on their recorder.
But, as I sit here and think about it,
There's no double back.
if there's a way to do it, I would take all those oral orders and fax them over.
Well, we have e-prescribe now for a
Yeah,
while.
we have the e-prescribe,
Same,
which I think
that's
that's
safe.
even more dangerous.
I was gonna say, our hospital won't even let, or, I don't know if it's in effect yet, but I know it's a big controversy with all the hospitals now. They're not allowing us to do verbal orders any longer.
That makes me feel better.
And so, but they're freaking out about it because, they do 24-hour, they're on call in the middle of the night, and now they're gonna have to get up in the middle of the night and do their online order entry, and so they're all freaked out.
Sorry.
I'm just saying, it's like it's a big buzz around the hospital because they're not gonna allow for verbal orders anymore.
See, now that's the kind of thing we're thinking about. Because that kind of error, I guess in a sense you were lucky that it was with Zantac.
Absolutely, it made me very, very nervous. But I'll tell you, another thing you need to watch out is that e-prescribing. Because your nurses can e-prescribe under you, and there's no double back on that either.
Oh, I
Well,
wouldn't allow that.
Well, you may want to think about that.
I didn't even think about
You may want to
How
think
can
about
they do
that.
that? Because don't you have to log in under your name?
Oh, no, they can put in orders under.
And
They have it, if the system, there's certain ones that the system would check, would check them, but they're not allowed to do.
Right,
But,
codes.
yeah, there's some reason why some of them they
Yeah.
can't call in, but they
Okay.
can call in refills.
Is there a way for you to get a copy of what they submit
Yeah, you can go to.
Yeah.
electronically?
But you might as well just do it yourself, because if you.
No,
to read-
because you can make the same mistake yourself. You see what I'm saying? In other words, if she submits it and you double check it, now you got two people checking. Okay, if you submit it, right, you may have made a mistake, she should double check you. But there's no double check if there's no double check in the system, you'll get these kind of errors. And even having it in writing won't necessarily stop it, because people misread.
Well, right, that's right.
We have for the lipid clinic, we have the electronic system set up, so all of the prescriptions that she puts in come to my inbox and have to be signed before the pharmacy will take care, before the system will accept them. And then when I started in long-term care, sometimes we have to give verbal orders to pharmacists for emergency dispense. And then the practitioner before me would just call the pharmacy and take care of it. I'm kind of neat, I have the nurse call the pharmacist, give them the name, the date of birth, the medication, the dose that I already gave them, because they have to have my order, it has to go in a circle, and I have the pharmacist page me, so that's a double check on that.
As busy as you are, if you made your nurse print out write it down or do it, what you call it, e-prescribe? And if she put you a written copy of that, and you looked at it at the end of the day, would you remember it or would you have forgotten it?
I'd have to have with the chart.
Okay.
They do put in, if the patient calls in for a refill, that's on a phone message. So
Right.
that phone message, so then the next step would be take that medicine that they wrote on that phone message to make sure that's the correct one that they ordered. So I sign up the phone message, but again, I
Yeah,
don't know whether that one,
we just need a double check somehow. One more question.
My medical record there, if their nurses receive a quality thing of medicine, it comes to me as a cosign, and I gotta sign it before it's.
There you go.
So, and whoever the provider. of the
Ever
day-
catch an error that way?
Pardon?
Have you ever caught an error that way?
Yeah, because I'll go back through it, because sometimes it's not my patients, I'm not, and I'm kind of like, I don't know about this, I'll go back, and I'll just say no.
If you've caught an error that way, that means your system's working.
Yeah, so,
What about a never event? What's a never event?
Something that can never happen.
what? What's a never event? No, it's something you never do. Is wrong site surgery a never event? The JCH, that's the only one I can remember, but if you go to the website, they are beginning to develop what they call never events, things that should never happen. I think patient identification is one of them. Misidentification of a patient. You double check all that stuff now, right?
I thought you said wrong side surgery was a rare event.
It is rare rather than, but JCH is calling it never. And I'm not necessarily agreeing that it should be a never event philosophically, but they're calling it a never event.
I like how when nurses walk up to a patient with any kind of skill on the patient, just spew out their name and birth date before they even ask
Sure.
them that.
I get so tired of telling people my birthday, it's not fun.
Yeah, I know, it's like, I'm a chef.
I get to a certain point where I forget. Rapid response systems, do you have them?
Yes.
Okay. Drug Commission, or AHRQ rather.
Is a sentinel event, is that one where the patient dies or just that it's a significant harm thing?
Both. Well, called a near miss.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, a sentinel event can include both an event that caused patient harm, serious patient harm, or a near miss.
Because I wanted to use that term in relationship to my daughter that home. I mean,
Okay.
it's really a sentinel event.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yes, it is. And in fact, in your packet, there's a Pennsylvania Patient Safety Authority annual report. And I think in there, they've got a sentinel event definition. I may have these notes too. We'll see what we get there.
In long-term care, it's also something that's reported to the state.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
We call them sentinel events. Yes.
Fracture of unknown order.
It's right out of the law. Yeah.
Yeah.
I may have it.
Yeah.
Hey, how about physician work hours
They're changing.
as a patient safety issue? How about your work hours?
Yeah.
Anybody work 12-hour shifts? You think, what do you think about 12-hour shifts?
I do 24s.
I wish I were
Do you
surprised.
sleep at the hospital?
In fact, in State College, they do 24 on and then 24 on call for pediatricians.
We do it in the awards.
Is there a certain length of time after which you get less effective?
Yeah. I think it was 16 hours, right? It was mandatory of 16 hours, you take 4 hours break.
You can do 16?
No, I thought somewhere in the label
Okay.
law it was,
Actually, I believe to 20.
Legal.
Yes, I believe
And
it's
physical.
either 19 and a half or 20, but it can be anything more than that, if I remember correctly.
Talk to me honestly about how good you are at hour 18.
Oh my God, I was tremendously nervous.
How about day 17?
Yeah, at the hospital, yeah.
In a row?
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Why would you work those hours though? I mean, if you know that you really can't function,
Glad you asked it, Nigel.
why would you allow administration to give you this
I
kind of
was the
hours?
administration.
Administration wants somebody in the house 24 hours a day for intubations. So that's why we get designated because the physicians don't want to be.
You need a
Well, I
job,
think
right?
your 20 hours might be a little bit different
Yeah.
than.
Well, then a clinic.
Yeah.
My 20
They are
hours are
present
November.
yeah,
Okay.
basically.
I was
Okay.
the administrator, I was
Okay.
in
guess
charge
I
of
just-
the CDRF. and
it's
I
never
was
gonna
still
change
in,
if we don't
no
change
could
it.
get in, so the resident abandoned the issue as well. There was
Okay.
no safe way to get any staff in.
17 days in a row?
Yeah, they won't hire anybody else when one of us is on vacation.
17 days in a row, they-
Why'd you do it?
That's got to go.
I still do 11 days.
17 days in a row is legal because there's no statute that says how many days in a row you can work.
Yeah, but the question was a better one. Why would you do it? You were
There's
still
no
in,
law that
okay.
says I can't work as many hours and days as I can. There's no law. Now, the residents can.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about residents. That's the most interesting one.
So I just go
Go ahead.
It's like we do 12-hour shifts so that
Right.
residents can go home on time because otherwise our
I've
van,
heard this.
Our grant is gonna go, and we still get paid for 8 hours. We do 12 hours and we get
You do 12 hours and you pay for it.
8.
You do 12 hours and you only get paid for 8?
Because that's, we are salary.
Oh, for you, you're saying for you because the residents have to go. So they just make you guys stay.
Yeah, there's 29-year-olds still voting.
So why do you go with it?
Our research says that it has increasing residency hours has not improved safety at all in the hospital. So.
Oh, can you give me a link? I'd love to
I
see
had to work
it.
for it.
Doesn't mean
If you find it.
It's not,
Marion, what did you say?
Decreasing residence hours has not shown a decrease in medication or errors in the hospital.
That's
I
because
read
a
that
lot of
too.
facilities are running wild with no supervision. I don't know how it is for the bigger facilities, but we were a teaching hospital, and we were running wild.
Well,
There's no attending on site.
let me overlay another one on this. I know a bunch of residency directors who said to me that for this residency, they need 120 hours a week of work for 3 years in order to be basically competent for practice intervention. And if we go to 80, we really need to be extending our residency by a year and a half, and we haven't done it. So what do they say?
They're not
They're
trained.
turning people
They're
loose
not
and
trained on the guidelines. They're not poorly trained.
Somewhere they sure are keeping up attitude, I'll tell you that much.
Still,
Oh, my.
No, they picked that up after the first year. The first year, they're still bad. By year 2, they figured out.
No, I pick up attitude year 1, where they did in Philadelphia. They're up there.
They're bad the first year, but then somehow in year 2, now they're Dr.
don't
Jones.
worry about it. We'll hire them tomorrow for it.
Yeah, right.
Man.
I heard that.
Just set them on up.
It is true.
Anybody
Rob,
ever?
who used to come down and hang out with us on night shift, and somehow they're like, no. I'm a second-year resident, please call me Dr. Jones. Dude, you were Bob.
Say, I call you son.
Water with Bob. It doesn't work.
Oh, you son.
Anybody ever heard of the Pittsburgh Regional Health Initiative? They're a local quality organization, and they use an error reduction system called Toyota Reduction. So Six Sigma is something that's being pushed by AHRQ. PHRI is pushing Toyota. They have patient safety champions, and they've got a program going on called Excellence in Chronic Care. They pioneered the central artery infection reduction stuff.
I became Six Sigma certified when I worked with Honeywell.
So you know. Talk to us about it.
Wait, can you go back for a second?
Sure.
Please.
Disney comes and does these too.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
But talk about Six Sigma.
Well, I worked with the specialty materials division of Honeywell, a local company, and we had the lean, we used lean in it, and Six Sigma, and so my supervisor at that time was Director of the Regional Medical Center, and we were equal, but she was the manager of the department, we were equal in our reasoning. She said, find something you want to change. And so I developed an email communication tool, because when we would transfer injured workers to a specialist, we wanted something to improve the communication, so I actually developed a communication tool. But it went through a whole statistical.
Do you have a black belt?
No, green belt,
Green belt.
yes.
Okay. Overall, it's an error reduction, identification reduction
Yes,
system.
exactly,
And the idea is everybody in the team gets involved,
yes,
right, in identifying error
right,
issues.
right,
And the Six Sigma comes from a percentage of errors
yes,
that you're willing to tolerate, right?
right,
And you got training. They have belt levels.
yes.
Green, is green next to black? I
It's
think.
yellow, green, and black.
Yeah.
So I'm.
So you're close.
Well, yeah, I don't know that it's very expensive if your employer
Yeah.
doesn't pay for it.
It's not just healthcare.
No,
In fact, this comes out of industrial engineering, right?
yes.
But a medical error is an error.
But we were saying, I used it from getting them back to work, so days back to work was what I measured.
Right.
From injury, days back to work, and that was money, and that got me going.
Another good capstone project, by the way. That'd be a great capstone project.
Except we're not working that.
Where were you the first semester?
I understand. Pull it out and throw it down.
I still have one.
Yeah. But, look, I talked about airline pilots yesterday, right? The safest thing going is airline travel. Why is it so safe? When the pilot makes the error, the pilot suffers the consequence.
Yeah, but I have patients where pilots are complaining that safety is at risk because they're flying into some of these airports and there's no one in the towers. And they have.
Yeah, and in fact, they've been writing about it, right?
And they have to land.
Sure.
I have a patient who's been really upset.
In fact, if you were one of those guys, right, would you refuse to land at that airport? I might.
There was a recent, maybe you've heard it.
It is scary.
I'm like, geez, so all these later flights, you're hoping that someone's.
I love air traffic controllers. Oh, my.
Did you hear the case of a pilot, I think it was a woman pilot, was, the airline was demanding that she fly, it was for too many hours, but they didn't have anyone else, and she
No.
refused. And
No, they'll get decertified quick for that. They really
Oh.
did.
yeah, they fired her, but then the whole
Oh,
pilot
the FTC will
association.
take them out. Really? They'll shut them down. The FTC will shut them down. They're really tough on that stuff. Oh, yeah. No, when I first learned to fly, it was Christmas time and it had been foggy where I lived for about 12 days. The sun finally came out and I was like, oh, I gotta go out and get my hours in. So, I hadn't even got my license yet. I was still, local area solo stuff. And I got up and the pattern of fog came back in.
Oh,
That air traffic controller talked me down.
I just remembered it wasn't too much, there was a light on, there was mechanical error, and they wanted her to fly the plane anyway, and she refused,
Oh,
and they
okay.
fired her, and they called another pilot, that pilot refused, they fired that one, and then it come to find out, there was a problem with it.
Which airline?
I can't remember, but the pilot
Yeah, they
association backed them up,
Well, of course.
I couldn't think
Of
of it,
course.
but it was a mechanical issue, not a pilot.
I'm surprised the FAA didn't take them out.
It was one that I don't know who to use, so I didn't.
Boy, again, if you come across it, I like to see it.
Yeah.
Okay, not, but, my war stories, did I tell you about our parachute riggers at Fort Bragg? We did parachute training jumps for the generals and the colonels in Corps headquarters. And of course, you did not want to lose one. So, in the parachute rigging, the people who rig the parachutes, 12th Support Brigade, we would go over and we pick up 12 parachutes at random that they had packed. We take them out to the drop zone, and the riggers would jump with one of those parachutes, and then one of the generals would jump above it. If you have riggers jump their own parachutes, they're much more careful. PHC4, anybody know PHC4? Pennsylvania Healthcare Cost Containment Coalition. I've probably got some stuff from them in your packet. They do quality and outcome studies. And they do hospital report cards. Have you ever seen any of them? Also, by the way, they do hospital financial reports. Did I mention that in May? If you want to know how much money your hospital's made, you can go to PHC4. Pennsylvania Patient Safety Authority. They require reporting of serious events and incidents, what they call near misses. Each of the hospitals and nursing homes in Pennsylvania has to have a patient safety officer. And that's an interesting job, by the way. One that's going to become more important, I think. People are doing it really neat. They are trying to cut down on errors and infections. They also monitor something called infrastructure failures. Do you do that? Do you do that with yours? Infrastructure failures?
Yep.
If you lose power? What's an emergency room you're located? That's what I was.
Well, they're really good with their backup.
For us, somebody who walks out of the emergency room is called an infrastructure failure. They book it as such.
Really?
Yeah. We got a lot. So there's incidents and serious events. And last year, 2009, a little old time, but 96% of what gets reported are incidents, they're not serious events. So 4% of this is serious events,